Is this for me? Oh, so, okay, good afternoon.
I believe yesterday was the fifth time in the last 13 games you've won by 20 or more points. That's so hard to do in this league today. Does that kind of speak to just what you're, stressing as far as being opportunistic and aggressive in the moment and when you have a chance to kind of take off?
I just think it's the reflection of just the players and coaches, exercising the game plan. I mean, every week while you have game plans, you have what you feel are your strengths going into the game. Obviously, we're extremely productive on offense, so we've been, attempting to play wide open for the most part. So in defense, I think our guys are doing a really good job, continuing what we started the season on. We needed to be much better in the run defense, and so we've been able to accomplish that. And I think just the way we're running the ball and the run defense, it brings a balance to our games. It brings that gives you the best chance to be complimentary. And let's be honest, I think the unit that's playing the best here this past month is special teams. Special teams is playing extremely well. So I think it's just a combination of all three phases hitting the target. And when we play well, as we did yesterday, we can be a dangerous football team.
There was a story on NFL Network today about raw and monkey butt. Can you kind of explain that to us?
Yeah, it's just, yes. Monkey butt, I highly recommend it if anybody's never used it. It's I won't get into my personal hygiene here, but it's, raw red ass week was the topic. So we're just making an emphasis based off of correcting what went on last week, and I thought our players did a great job with it. So just had some fun with it. Just an emphasis of focus, just another way to focus.
So y'all passed around monkey butt in the locker room, coaches did?
It's a powder. So it's just, we made a point. So it looked good on a PowerPoint. If you ever seen a can of monkey butt, you get it. So it's expressive in the cure that it's. I don't have the right words here, so trying to.
Is the official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, Rich and I were just visiting on that, so I don't want to step on any marketing toes, but I'll just say I don't think we have a marketing agreement with them yet, but we'll see what happens.
It'll be on the screen behind you next time you come in.
There you go. It's a pretty good picture.
Between the watermelons that last year and that this year, why is it important to you to kind of mix up the way you're motivating this team?
Oh, I think you have to keep it fresh, and I think just like anything, our business is, you're focused on the same thing every week. But I think the reality of, being redundant and just trying to emphasize the same things over and over. Just the game of football is so much about the mental and the emotional, particularly this time of year. I think teams establish themselves in September, and you hopefully, start connecting in October, and then I think November is, this is when it gets tough. You're not going to always be in a favorable leverage point, and so I just think the mental and emotional part, just different ways to focus is as important as a football team. So, I mean, really, when you get to this point of the year, you're really focusing on cutting back practice and trying to be smarter with your players from the physical workload output. So, as much as you can do, mentally and emotionally, just to find different ways to focus, I think it's helpful.
You have a stretch where you got 3 games in 12 days. Is this where the state program, the GPS trackers, all that, this is where you really see it make its impact?
I mean, definitely. I mean, this is when the schedule comes out. I know for me personally, this is a major stress point for us as a schedule. I mean, we play 3 games. Was it 12 days, 14 days, 12 days? But 2 of them on the road. I mean, that's a challenge. So 3 and 12 days with 2 road games and travel, all those things. It's stress is additive, and you have to be in touch with that. And I think even the way you practice going into this 12-day 3-game stretch is as important as the way you practice during it too. So that's just something that I've learned from experience. So this is a challenging spot for us.
How is Lamb doing, and how did you come out of the game yesterday as far as anything?
I think CD's going to be fine. I don't have a exact if he's going to practice Wednesday, but I fully anticipate he'll be available. But so we didn't have anything else major to report.
How did Tristan come out of that game?
Good. Probably played a little less than we'd hoped. I just think the way the game, because the way the game went, we're hopeful to be playing him in some different situations that didn't really occur. As far as the defensive personnel groups that we were in. So I think it was a good day, good first game back, so hopefully we can build on that with another good week of work and get them some more opportunities in Kansas City.
Is this a week where you keep your team, the stretch where you keep your team out of pads in practice just to make sure that physically they're good?
It's, frankly, the padded practice, it really takes care of itself. Once you get past week 11, I think you only have 3 there down the stretch. So I'm more focused on next week. We'll go lighter. We'll go a lot lighter this Wednesday. So it'll be kind of a prehab mindset going into this long stretch. But we'll practice some pads on Thursday.
If you look at Zeke's numbers, 41 yards on 12 carries or whatever it was, I'm not sure. But is that don't judge running backs just by the rushing totals when you look at the type of day that he had, the 2 touchdowns and his pass protection, all the other things that he has to do?
Well, I think it's just like anything. I think statistics definitely, they point you in a direction what you need to look at. And then I think when you take the statistics and watch the film, I think you'll have a better understanding why, the numbers are what they are. I thought Zeke ran the ball very well. I thought he was decisive. I thought he had played well in the protection part of it. And, his one negative play was the fumble. And frankly, the shot comes from the side, and that's the most difficult angle for running backs to take a hit, the blind hit like that. So that's why when you're teaching secondary level perimeter blocking, you're always talking about trying to take that side shot away from your runners. You want to always leave the free hat in front of him because, he can, as long as he can see the guy. But when that guy comes from the side like that, that's difficult. So, but, we graded Zeke as a winning performance.
In the sequence, it was Atlanta's first possession. Jaron Kearse breaks up the pass and it's ruled complete. He sprinted over to find y'all and make sure it got challenged. I'm just curious the mechanics of that. Did you see it was incomplete, or were you going on his word, or did you hear from the booth just kind of?
No disrespect to any of our players. I don't, as soon as we saw the play, obviously saw his reaction, but I'm communicating with the booth right away because they usually get the view before we do. And this particular time, the view on the big screen came before the view they had upstairs. So actually, I had the flag in my hand, but when I saw the view on the screen, that's actually when I threw the flag. So, but we didn't have a view upstairs before that.
So I get it. Trust the video over a player, but in a certain, and maybe not even in that specific instance, do you ever go based on what a player says if he feels
time of game, type of play, all those things. We put challenges in 3 different categories. That early in the game, would I clear information? Would not challenge because what was it? 10 minutes in the first quarter. It was pretty early in the first quarter. So, we have a criteria that we try to stay within with the challenging system.
Is there a line back this week? Is that anticipation?
We anticipate it, but, we'll see how that goes. Until he comes out of the protocol. So, he's on course.
Dak talked last week about how he wanted to improve his footwork and transfer that to the game. How did you feel like he did that yesterday, and what were the ways it was
I thought he played really well yesterday, probably his best game of the year. When you break it down fundamentally, I thought his footwork was, I thought he did a real good job keeping his cleats in the ground. I think he was a lot more, he's a little slower, just slowed it down a little bit compared to last week. So I thought he graded out very high. So I thought he had a heck of a day.
Mike, do you feel better about Tyron being able to play this week, or at least getting back into practice?
The hope is for him to practice at some level Wednesday. That's the report that was given today. Now, how much we'll see Wednesday. So, if he practices his week, then if he practices throughout the week, then he would be available obviously Sunday. But if he doesn't, we'll have to project. So we'll see how it goes Wednesday.
How much does 2 games in 4 days factor into what you do with him as well?
That's part of it. No, I mean, it's, like I said, I think everything. I think our whole squad. I mean, this is a stretch that you got to be very conscientious of, how guys are going into this game, and just do the math. I mean, if someone's in danger of playing this week and you don't play them until Thanksgiving Day, and then they play New Orleans, so they can go 10 days 7-7. So, I mean, this will be the game that's probably under the most scrutiny on if a guy plays or doesn't play.
We're getting so used to seeing Conor Mcgovern in places other than the offensive line. How did he do in his time at Glenn?
I'll tell you what, he really had a hell of a performance. I mean, you just break down his reps. I mean, he played, every how many snaps at tight end. He played, obviously, left guard. He played tight end. So he did a lot of good things. So we thought he was very productive in all his assignments. So, we had him down as a winning grade.
Is the time going to come this season where you think he's going to get a touch?
Say it again?
Is the time this season going to come, do you think, where he could get
He touches the ball?
Yeah.
That's scheme, isn't it? We don't talk about scheme here, do we? Tell you what, just watch him on the goal line play. When he fakes the dive, it might be time. So.
When Kellen comes to and in the game plan early in the week and says, we got this play where McGovern is lined up out wide, are you like, you're putting a 315-pound guy out there, like,
I'm a big proponent of Conor McGovern's athletic ability. I think the way he, not only moves for his side, but I mean, you just watch him play from the fullback position. I mean, he's got really good balance. He's got quickness. You don't see linebackers getting up on him. His contact occurs on the other side of the line of scrimmage. That tells you a little bit about his ability, his quickness, and his recognition and understanding of what gap to go through. So no, I think he does an excellent job.
Speaking of Conor, and I think the second from last play where you guys were down on the ball to end the game, he got pushed over. Arthur said after the game that he didn't like the way his guys handled that, and that he was going to talk to them about that. How much do you talk to your team about that in those situations? Like, the game's over with, don't do anything stupid here.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's all part of the game management and discipline. It's I think just like anything, and just on the other side of that too, you got to protect one another in that spot too, because you never want to see something happen at the end of the game that's been over for quite some time, and just because of emotions run awry, just regardless of what side of the ball you're on. So this is professional football, and we should all stay in accordance with that.
Connor Williams, he had 3 more flags. He lead the NFL in penalties this season. How do you sort through? Is that just something that you have to kind of just take, or is I guess how do you work your way through that problem?
Well, the process is the same every Monday, and that's for every player. We have a pretty extensive grading system. Every play is graded. It's documented. It's put into a format, and it's not only done just for the grading of the player, but it's also done to help the players. We can formulate self-scout cut-ups on not as much as, so much goes into game planning on what they're doing, but you got to really be on top of what you're doing and what you look like. And so you clearly have a vision of the mistakes you've made and put on film. So, I mean, that process went on this morning. So I'm more in an individual phase just because we went Victory Monday for the first time this year. So the meetings were set up between the players and the coaches on their own. So most guys were done by 1 o'clock today. But Conor clearly understands the way he performed, and we have a very competitive offensive line room. So, we'll see what the future brings.
His top block seems questionable, where he found like he lost his balance and maybe wasn't intentional with it and the defensive tackle.
I think sometimes you see it in this league, and it's definitely on the field yesterday. Sometimes players get in awkward positions. It's not clean football, and gets rewarded with a penalty. I think you had a couple calls there yesterday where guys got tied up and didn't look right, and and one player was penalized. I mean, I think you could talk about Noah Brown's holding. I mean, it's you got a player on the other team that starts playing. Noah's doing exactly what he's thought to do. So, and it happens. I think it happens in our game sometimes. So, I think you had 2 chop blocks. They've been called the whole year. We had 2 in our game yesterday. So I just, sometimes it happens that way.
Beyond the McGovern stuff, what are your thoughts on Kellen's creativity and what he's been able to do with guys? And, Cedric's lined up, he got him at the Wildcat a little bit yesterday. He's throwing a pass earlier. Zeke even threw a pass technically there. What do you think of Kellen's creativity?
Oh, I love it. I mean, we have, our deceptive menu is something I think Kellen and really our young coaches do a really good job scouring, each week. And they have, like I said, they have a pretty good playbook, pretty good menu. And, so much of deceptive plays and the creative plays, they're great, but it's when you call them. And I think he's doing an excellent job of calling them at the right time. I mean, I think it's just like any of those types of plays. If you don't catch the right defense, it could be not a very good play for you. So he's doing a really, really good job calling them at the right time.
What are the parameters on that when you look at it? Because again, you just don't want to incorporate anything just because it's creative, I would think. I would think those need to be.
No, they're all sound. No, everything we do, it has to be sound. I mean, you have to, just the one play there going down there, Sid and Tony. I mean, Billy Jack. I mean, you're definitely have a clear understanding. It's a perimeter run. Perimeter runs. It ends up being a perimeter run. You have a forced defender and a contained defender, and how they're going to be blocked and what you're looking for. It's not the best play versus pressure situation. So I mean, the design of it's no different than any other play. So if it isn't, your risk is going to be a lot higher for it to work. So
in regard to that deceptive menu that he brings, we're in week 10, and every single game thus far, Kellen's bringing unscouted looks to the opponent each and every game. Is that rare to continually do that, or is that generally accepted as commonplace around the league where you're going to go into the game and see something you haven't seen?
I think that I think he's definitely we're doing it on the high side of it. I mean, it's I think the creativity from Kellen and throughout the staff is definitely high for my experience of staffs I've been on. I think Joe Philbin and Jeff Blasco do a tremendous job with the run game, as far as what they bring to the table. And the staff is in year 2. They're in a really good mode right now. I think just Ben McAdoo's, he's brought an element to our staff that we didn't have last year. So, the pre-planning is a lot more in-depth. So it's definitely saving Dan and Kellen more time on Mondays. So I think our whole process has improved. And once again, I think Kellen's doing a really good. I think the biggest thing with creativity and a part I appreciate that he's doing, he's keeping the volume intact, because you can get a little too much is when you get into issues with the players start having mental errors and things like that. So he's doing a great job keeping the creativity high but keeping the volume tight, and that's what it's all about, because you want to be able to rep those plays, and our guys got to be playing, not thinking, and that's definitely been the case with us on offense so far.
Coach, is that a culture you have to establish where that sort of creativity and all ideas are welcome and brought to the table? Is that something that is instilled, or how does that kind of?
Well, I think it's all part of your structure. Creativity is great, but it has to be sound. If it's not sound, it's not, it doesn't happen. So, and it has to build off of something. You don't want to be jack of all trades, master of none. You don't want to just be drawing them up on a board each week. I mean, if you look at the deceptive plays that most of them are things that he's put in during training camp, or there's some form of fashion. It's a variation of things we've done in the past. So it all fits together.
How are Jordan Lewis and Anthony Brown different than the players you thought you were getting last year when you first came in?
I think just the biggest thing is they're comfortable in the new scheme. I think last year was such a change for those guys, and then it even changed even more this year. I just thought the connection between players and coaches all the way around, it was, we were able to get the things quicker, and you can see both those guys are playing with tremendous confidence right now. I think Jordan probably played his best game that I've seen him play since I've been here, and Anthony's been very, very consistent this year too, and I think just. Anthony's just staying. His challenge last year was the 2 injuries that he had, and he fought through those. But veteran players that are in a really good space right now.
If Greg is back and healthy, you like to try to keep Laram around on the practice squad after he's shown he can do it in a game? Or?
I like the way he fits in with our guys. He came in here and had a great workout and, had a really good day on Thursday. And I thought his warm up and just the kicks yesterday. So, we haven't talked about it yet, but I would definitely welcome that.
You anticipate starting any practice windows for any IR guys this week?
Talked about it Friday. I don't have anything to report today. If we do it, it would probably happen tomorrow. So we'll let you know.
Greg's still in the protocol. Any other changes to the protocol?
I mean, any new cases? No, nothing. Everybody tested this morning, so I haven't been made aware of anything yet.
When you look at Micah's pass rush productivity, he's highly efficient in terms of how often he's generating pressure on the quarterback or how many times he's rushing. What do you make of just what's made him so efficient? When a guy is that efficient.
Well, he's so elusive. I mean, whether he's rushing from the open end or if he's rushing inside, he's a tough matchup for any guard or center in this league, and definitely has been very productive, from the end position. So he's extremely elusive. I think he's a lot stronger than I think people don't realize until they play against him. But his quickness and his ability to slip blocks, and then and he has the unique closing speed that not too many people have. So he's got a great skill set to work with.
Dan downplayed it during the week to us and sounds like to the players too, but why was it important to recognize him after the game?
Because it was there. I mean, honestly, downplayed it to everybody. I mean, he didn't even talk about it. So I just think it was obvious, and obviously meant a lot to him after the fact. And we needed a win on a lot of fronts. So it was great to recognize him with the game ball.
We've asked you, again, a lot about Kellen's creativity, but can you talk a little bit about Dan's creativity and the packages he's doing and just what a variation or an evolution of what he's done earlier in his career?
Yeah, definitely. We wanted to be more scheme challenging. That was the goal, since I arrived here, and Dan has, definitely hit the target there. And I think not only, schematically challenging them, but the disguise is something I think we're doing a much better job of. I think our pre-snap awareness, the instincts that our guys are playing with, the understanding of trying to control where the ball's being thrown or making the ball thrown to a certain matchup, the tilt of the coverage, the tilt of the leverage, the formation recognition. So I think we're off to a really good start there. We have room for improvement, but yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not the same game plan every week, that's for sure. So, I mean, both sides of the ball are high in creativity, high in scheme, challenge, and but at the end of it, the coordinator, he has to be the guy that keeps the volume right. And I think Dan and Kellen both are doing a really good job of that.
Is that changing a little bit in the league? I mean, you've always had that offensively, but so much of defense is where this is what we do, and we'll tweak or adapt. But I mean, you're starting to see seems a little bit more just game planning defensively for different looks and different weeks.
Frankly, you mean trend-wise? Yeah, probably. I would say that's true. For forever in this league, defensively, it was always, when you looked at a defensive coordinator, it's always, okay, where does he spend his time? Is he heavier in normal down distance, or is he just primarily third down, or is he, where does the volume and the scheme challenge go up? I do think people are trying to be a little more balanced in each because it's so situational driven. And going back to the starting point of that is what personnel they're playing with. For forever, base defense was, from probably like 2010 to, I'm trying to go back through the numbers, probably 2018, I want to say base defense was down less than 15%. I know as far as the teams that I was coaching. So where if you were a traditional 3-4 defense, which we were in our defense coordinator's background, you had all this great base scheme that you really weren't using much. So the ability to get it, that's why you see so much big nickel. You see the bear defense, the origin of it, and now in the sub defense. So I think the fact that base defense has gone down, as far as the amount of how much people are playing, it kind of has come back a little bit because, you had some team success running the ball the last couple of years. But now you're seeing so much more just big nickel because everybody has some form or fashion or different variations of up-tempo offense. So the ability to match personnel is a real challenge for defense, and frankly, the good defenses, in my opinion, are the ones that have the ability to match and also just play it down at distance. So that's really where a lot of the chess match comes in for the offensive play caller versus the defensive play caller.
You've seen a lot of great quarterback play, obviously going back to Favre, Rodgers, and Dak. What does Patrick Mahomes fit in there, especially after what he's done in the past couple of years, leading his team to Super Bowls? Where does he?
Well, no, he's definitely. I mean, he's definitely up there. I mean, he's just look at his numbers, you know, and I think his ability to beat you with 2 or 3 throws a game. I mean, that's what you. And they have the firepower around them to do it. So just watching Kelsey with Dan before I come in here. I mean, God, he's so dang, they have that connection. You can see those two are definitely on the same page. But the ball is out, it's on time. The way he breaks tackles and the elusiveness. So yeah, he's definitely in that league. There ain't no doubt about it.
The red zone success yesterday, going 5 for 5. Obviously, execution's paramount there, but did anything strike you in particular just about how you guys were able to execute in that area?
Patience. I just think we were patient, and we had the one empty pressure that the protection part wasn't right, and I think Dak just did a tremendous job, trusting CD, where he was going to be on the 7 route and put the right arc on the ball. But I just think the patience down there. Patience in the run game, we knew that going in. That's kind of how we felt the game was going to go. And then when we did throw it, the ability to have the time, and I thought Dak really played extremely well. I thought he was in rhythm, and the ball was coming out, and the spacing was much better in the perimeter. So, but I would say patience in the red zone plan.
Going back to quarterbacks, is Dak on that level, or what does he need to do to get to that level?
I mean, yeah, I love Dak Prescott and the way he's playing. I don't think it's fair to compare great quarterbacks, but yeah, and what's exciting about Dak is he's continuing to grow too. He's got a lot of great football in front of him, but we just got to keep building off what he's doing.
Like I imagine you probably can't make every week or last week. How do you balance needing to keep this team at that level without wearing them out with that kind of thing?
Well, I don't think I'll be up here talking about the Red Ass again this year, so you can have comfort in that. I just think it's, you're trying to make an emphasis, to keep it fresh for the guys. It's a good thing to laugh. Probably don't think I have much personality, but I do have a little bit. So I think it's important. It's a long year, man. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you spend a lot of time together, and at the end of the day, you got to have more than 1 or 2 ways to make a point, and that's all we were trying to do this week.
You ever had a Sunday where you finish at 3 and the late game is between both of your next opponents?
Yeah, no, great point. I wish I could just get everybody to keep it down at the house last night so I could watch it. But no, that was nice. That was. But the reality of it is, I think like most coaches, it's nice to watch a game on TV, but until you get there in the office and watch it and start taking things off to what I think like most of we're creatures of habit of how you absorb the information. But yeah, that was pretty cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.